Hi everybody, my name is Adam Holden and it's a pleasure to be able to spend a little bit of time presenting my research to you today. I'm based in Panama City, Panama, where I've been conducting research here in Central America for the past few years and have conducted a mixed method study with two phases in it, which I'm going to outline for you today. So without further ado, let's get into what it is we're going to look at. So the study looks at mobile learning and teacher quality, and effectively I was looking to assess the impact of a mobile learning application on positive psychology and professional teaching practice in Panama. Now, for most of you, when you think about Panama City itself, you think about the pictures that you can see on the screen right now. Panama is a financial hub for Central America, and Panama City is the urban center within the country. About 1.5 million people live in the city, and the city has very solid infrastructure, very modern buildings, good road system and healthcare system, and really would compete with any of the major cities in the area, whether that's Mexico City or Bogota in Colombia or even Miami in America. What many people don't know about Panama is that the rest of the country does not share this level of wealth. In fact, Panama is one of the countries that has the most disparity in terms of personal economics of any country in the region. So you can see from the pictures that are on the screen now, either side of the city of Panama, you can see that the dwellings are economically extraordinarily poor, and where the infrastructure is missing, where levels of poverty and where levels of basic amenities, running water, electricity, are missing. As a result, we see a country that has very complex issues in terms of sustainability for large sectors of the population. And we see this within education as well. So within Panama City itself, there is a huge disparity in the type of school that students can attend, and also in the quality of education that they would receive whilst they're attending that. And you can see here from some of the visuals again, you see some schools where there's advanced technology, where students are likely to be programming and flying drones, and then you see other schools where students in their lunchroom are likely to have food that's been cooked over an open flame, or where school buildings really don't have some of the basic amenities that perhaps we would expect for a school to be functioning. And as a result of this, the teaching profile or the learning profile in Panama has many elements to it which are of significant challenge. Panama's ranked 71 out of 77 countries on the 2018 PISA test, which was really disappointing for the country. 3/4 of the teachers are female. Many of them come from low socioeconomic status, and in many areas of the country, up to 60% of teachers have absolutely no formal educational training at all. In addition to that, class sizes are large, and teachers get paid less than somebody going into an equivalent field. And so, understandably, teachers actually attract students who have lower GPAs. It's not necessarily seen as a profession that somebody would choose to go into, if they could. So I decided to design a multi-phase sequential mixed methods study where there would be two distinct phases that then come together. So the first one was that I wanted to find out what teachers thought about their own self-efficacy and self-permission in Panama. In other words, what are the areas within teaching where they feel very competent, and the areas where they feel that they are allowed to succeed well. And I wanted to look at the types of teachers that we have in Panama and be able to compare self-efficacy to things like gender, to things like qualification and experience of teaching. And once I'd done that in phase one, to get a picture of the overall landscape of teachers in the country in terms of where teachers feel confident and where they don't, I then really wanted to explore whether or not we could build a mobile teaching application that would help them on their journey. So over the next 10 minutes, I want to share with you the research that we conducted. So let's start by taking a look at phase one. So in phase one, I was looking at the perceptions of Panamanian teachers on self-efficacy and self-permission. And in order to do that, I used a basic survey. This survey was a hybrid of Bandura's teacher self-efficacy scale and Gentry et al.'s instrument for modeling 21st century skills. And on top of that, we layered Rose's self-permission scale. We adapted that for an educational setting. So we were looking at two considerable elements that we wanted to look at. Number one, how confident do the teachers feel in terms of their ability to be successful in key areas, and do they feel that they have the permission to do that? So we asked questions over 5 particular areas: planning and assessment, instruction, discipline or classroom management, a positive school climate, and then self-permission itself. So we surveyed up to 500 teachers across several of the provinces of Panama, and the participant sample ended up being about 316 teachers. And you can see from the map in front of you right now, the majority of those came from the Panama area, but remember, about 50% of the country's population actually live in that province of Panama. Nevertheless, we still managed to collect data from some of the outer regions, some of those areas where teachers would be working in very rural communities and very marginalized communities sometimes. So the provinces of Veraguas, Herrera, and Los Santos, as well as Colón. And I think you can see here that our sample size was actually pretty good. So in terms of qualification, we had teachers who had no formal diploma, teachers who had a high school qualification, teachers who had a bachelor's degree, and teachers who had a master's degree. In terms of experience, we had teachers who were under 5 years of experience, 5 to 10 years, and over 10 years. In terms of gender, as you might expect, about 75% of our pool were female, but that's in line with what we know from the country. And in terms of age, we distributed fairly evenly, with teachers between the ages of 20 and 30, 30 and 40, 40 and 50, and then over the age of 50. And when we looked at our results, we actually found some very interesting findings. First of all, we looked at gender, and we could see that in most cases, females scored a little bit higher, but not very much, certainly not significantly different than their male counterparts. We did see quite a bit of difference in terms of self-efficacy and experience. And so you can see here from the diagram that those teachers who have no teaching experience and those teachers who have more than 10 years experience were significantly separated, especially in the areas of planning and assessment and in the areas of instruction. And so when we looked at the means of those, we saw a line of those teachers who had more experience, and then a lower line of those teachers who had little or no experience. When we looked at the qualifications, interestingly, we saw almost the opposite of that. And so here you can see that those teachers that actually indicated the most confidence in many respects had the least qualifications, which was interesting to us and was not what we expected to see when we first went into it. So let's take a look at the key findings from phase one. First of all, as we just said, as teacher experience increases, so does their perception of confidence, their own efficacy in the classroom. But we did find out that as teacher experience increases, there's really no change in the way that they feel their permissions change. So in other words, if a teacher has been teaching 1 year or if a teacher has been teaching 10 years, they still feel that the job they're doing gives them some rights, and those rights are not impacted beyond that. And when we looked at teacher qualification, we actually found the reverse of that to be true. So no matter what the qualification of a teacher, it didn't really impact their self-efficacy. So those teachers who had more degrees did not necessarily feel more confident in the classroom. But we did see a difference, that those who had more qualifications did feel that they had more rights in the classroom. So we saw that teachers who had master's degrees felt that they could create their own curriculum and that they could make changes to what they were doing in the classroom. In other words, they felt perhaps that they were more of the expert than otherwise. We saw the greatest differences in planning and assessment, and we saw a statistically significant negative relationship when we looked at teachers who had experience. So we took all of this information and we wanted to design an application that we thought might be able to help the teachers. And so we then designed a mobile learning application to attempt to improve teacher self-efficacy and self-permission. And what you're seeing right now is the app that we ended up building out. The app's called An Apple a Day, and it's a really fairly straightforward application. And the basic concept is that we wanted to design something for teachers that would allow them to go or to receive really simple support in key areas every day to see whether over time that would actually help them. So the application, when you go into the application, there's a welcome message, because obviously this was part of a research project, and we wanted to make sure that all of the participants were aware of the fact that it was a research project. We gave them instructions as to how the application worked. We then gave them 3 critical areas that we wanted them to consider looking at or interacting with. Firstly was a daily thought, which was a short 60-second video every day. Secondly, we gave them supporting videos, which actually complemented the topic being discussed in the daily thought. And then thirdly, we gave them research articles or supporting articles, which again aligned with the videos or the theme of what was going to be talked about. So let's take a look at the first of these. So these were the daily thoughts, and the daily thought videos were literally 60 seconds long, and they played, as you can see, fairly straightforwardly. And in each of those videos, we managed to work with in both English and in both Spanish. So let me just show you the Spanish version. And the Spanish version uses different music and used different pictures, so that it was culturally sensitive to the needs of the individuals who were actually watching them at any given time. In addition to that, we also then, as I said, gave them supporting videos. And you can see here, this is one of the supporting videos that we used. And so the daily thought video would be pushed out to the application, and the participants would actually get a message on their phone, on their smartphone, which would actually talk to them and say, here's your daily thought for the day. Teachers could then watch that daily thought, and if they wanted to, they could then go in at the end of the daily thought to be able to look at the additional supporting videos. And then lastly, here are the additional supporting research articles. Again, optional for the teachers to go into. We gave them the opportunity to take a look at these, but we didn't require them to go into any of the elements of the application. It was just down to see whether or not they wanted to do that. So the second phase was a qualitative design, and you can see a visual here. We interviewed candidates after 30 days use and after 90 days use, and you can see here, based on a basic color grid, how people interacted with the application. We also produced a series of visual tools that could show us, so this is the 30-day and 90-day differential in terms of a word wall, so that we could look at which words were most used after we had done the basic coding. And then a visual representation of how positive the responses were. So we coded all of the interviews, and we categorized words in terms of being positive or highly positive, negative or highly negative. And this just indicates to you the different size of the bubble, showing how more positive things were or negative from 30 to 90 days. So what is it that we actually found out? We actually found out, and we looked for 3 critical elements: the usefulness of the application, how people interacted with it, and whether or not there was an impact. And it was interesting to us because the Apple a Day application overall, all participants who actually were in the study, in the second phase of the study, said that they found the application to be useful. And in fact, the vast majority of those went in every single day and actually watched the thought of the day video. Beyond that, there was quite a significant drop-off in terms of those that went on to see the supporting videos. So teachers did not do that as often, and even less so did they read the articles, certainly at the end of the first 30 days. We did see at the end of 90 days that the greatest increase was that teachers, after they'd been using the app for 3 months, actually did go in to start reading some of the articles. So that was not a practice that happened at the beginning, but as they interacted with the application more, so they began to read the articles more. The most powerful research elements for us is that 100% of those interviewed said that they believed that there'd been an improvement in their instruction. 100% of them suggested that they had increased their professional confidence with instruction, and they were asked to give specific examples of where they felt more confident. And 87% of them asked for the Apple a Day to expand, which was interesting. We did then, therefore, expand, especially when COVID hit. We actually opened the application up and said to those teachers that they could share the information if they wanted to. And you can see a snapshot here that was taken from April of this year. In April of this year, we had close to 2,000 people around the world from 49 countries around the world using the English application and 9 using the Spanish application. A couple of takeaways just to wrap up, things that the research shows overall. First of all, that the power of 60 seconds, the idea of sending somebody a cultural communication, so sending them a short video which takes really complex theories but simplifies it and makes it easy for the individuals to be able to understand, and which presents it in their own cultural way, is hugely powerful. And even when they were not required to do so, teachers continually went in and watched and went back into the archives to re-watch videos. Secondly, that the influence of that video had an accumulating effect over time. In other words, you don't have to sit down for 15 to 20 minutes to talk about a concept in order for that concept to actually be something that is impactful. That short, simple messages over a period of time do actually change instructional techniques, certainly within teachers who lack confidence. And then lastly, that this application really does have the ability to show a path forward anytime there's a lot of information that needs to be shared with people over a period of time. So imagine, for example, a company that brings new employees on that wants to enculture those employees. These 60-second videos every day talking about different elements of the company is something that most people would be willing to watch. Students who go to university, for example, being able to learn the expectations of what they have to do and how they have to do it, again, may not want to sit through an hour-long lecture, but certainly are willing to listen to 60 seconds of good information. So we're continuing with the project. We've now expanded again through the pandemic to create content to talk about online learning, which has been highly successful. And we're hoping that as we advance further, that teachers will be comfortable continuing to use this concept. So I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me today and me allowing to present to you. And I look forward to seeing some of the projects that everybody else is involved with. Thanks very much.